Blood pressure and heart rate in the elderly. Let me tell you about this story of blood pressure and heartbeats. You know, when I was around 50, I didn't worry much about it. I thought high blood pressure was an old person's thing, but I learned the hard way that we need to take care of it early on. I remember like it was yesterday when I started feeling different headaches. At first I thought it was just fatigue. You know how it is, right? We always think it's nothing serious, but my daughter Sarah, who's a nurse, insisted I start measuring my blood pressure regularly. That's when I discovered it was 160/95. Quite a shock, I tell you. Dr. Thompson explained that as we age, our blood vessels become less flexible. It's like an old garden hose. Over time it gets harder, less elastic. That's why it's normal for pressure to go up a little, but we can't let it go beyond certain limits. Now I know that ideally, we should keep pressure close to 140/90. If it goes much higher than that, it's time to seek help. It's like a traffic light, green up to 140/90, yellow up to 150/90, and red if it goes above that. And it's not just pressure that matters. Heart rate needs attention too. Let me tell you something funny. There were days when I'd measure my heart rate after watching my favorite TV show. Of course it was higher. Excitement from the show, right? Laughs. I learned that it's best to measure while resting, sitting quietly, relaxed. Normal is between 60 and 100 beats per minute. Now I have a proper routine. Every morning before breakfast, I check my pressure. I write it down in a special notebook, the kind my granddaughter Emily taught me to use. I even note the time and how I was feeling. This helps the doctor understand if everything's okay, and you wouldn't believe how small changes make a difference. I started walking early every morning with my senior citizens group at Central Park. At first, I thought getting up early would be difficult, but now I wouldn't miss it for anything. Besides exercise, there's conversation, laughter, and guess what? My pressure improved a lot. I also learned about the importance of diet. Before I was a fan of bacon, heavy southern food, but now I've cut back on salt. You know that herb garden I planted on my windowsill? Makes all the difference. I use basil, oregano, parsley. The food tastes delicious, and I don't need to overdo the salt. One thing I discovered is that stress really affects pressure. That's why I now have my relaxation moments. I do knitting. I've made so many doilies that my whole family has them. Laughs. I also enjoy listening to oldies and doing crossword puzzles. Helps keep the mind peaceful and pressure controlled. And there's more. I learned to recognize certain signs that the body gives when pressure isn't right. That dizziness when getting up quickly from bed. Now I know I need to get up slowly. Neck pain. I know it's time to check my pressure, and if needed, call Dr. Thompson. My grandkids even joke that I've become an expert in blood pressure. But it's true. The more we know our body, the better we can take care of it. And there's no age limit for learning, you know. At 75, I learn something new every day. The important thing is not to be afraid to ask questions, to seek help. Your doctor is there for exactly that. And don't forget, everyone is different. What works for me might not work for you. That's why personalized medical care is so important. Oh, and a valuable tip I've learned over time: always keep your medications organized. I use those weekly pill organizers. My daughter Sarah helped me organize them. There's morning, afternoon, and evening medications. That way I don't forget any. And we can't forget the importance of sleep. Sleeping well makes all the difference in blood pressure. I used to watch TV late at night, but now I have my set schedule. By 9 p.m., I'm already preparing for bed. A cup of chamomile tea, some light reading, and that's it. All these changes might seem like a lot at first, but they become natural with time. It's like learning to ride a bike. Seems difficult at first, but then becomes second nature. I remember when I started taking better care of my health, some friends said I was overdoing it. But you know what? Today they ask me for advice, and what joy it brings to help others with what I've learned. Blood pressure control. Let me share my experience with controlling high blood pressure, especially since I discovered it's one of the main risks for stroke. When I received my hypertension diagnosis, I was scared, but I learned a lot about how to control it. In our family, which has Italian heritage, we've always been very careful with blood pressure. My father had a stroke at 65, and that opened my eyes. Dr. Miller explained that we Mediterranean descendants have a higher tendency for stroke than heart attacks. That's why pressure control is even more important. I started using a digital blood pressure monitor at home. At first it was funny, I kept measuring all the time. My wife Mary even joked that I had become a doctor. But I learned to do it correctly, always at the same time, seated, after 5 minutes of rest. One of the biggest discoveries was how small changes make a difference. I stopped drinking coffee after lunch and noticed my pressure was more stable in the afternoon. I also learned about the importance of sleep. When I sleep poorly, my pressure goes up the next day. I created a routine of light exercises. Every morning, I take a 30-minute walk in the park near my house. I meet other seniors there, we chat, laugh. It's good for the body and soul. I notice that on walking days, my pressure stays more controlled. Another important change was in my diet. Reducing salt was difficult at first. I thought everything tasted bland, but I discovered the power of herbs and natural seasonings. I planted basil, rosemary, and parsley on my balcony. Besides making food tasty, taking care of the plants became a therapy. I learned to identify situations that increase my pressure. Family arguments? I avoid them as much as possible. Bad news on TV? Now I limit my time watching the news. When I feel I'm getting anxious, I do breathing exercises I learned in yoga. Regular monitoring made all the difference. I keep a diary where I note down the pressure readings, along with what I ate or did that day. This helps identify patterns. I discovered, for example, that after eating heavy meals, my pressure always went up. I also learned about the importance of hydration. Before I drank little water because I didn't want to get up at night to go to the bathroom. But I understood that water is fundamental to maintaining controlled pressure. Now I drink more water during the day and reduce it at night. My blood pressure medications are sacred. I take them at the same times, every day. I use a weekly pill organizer and set alarms on my cell phone. My granddaughter taught me to use an app that helps me not forget any dose. An interesting discovery was how the weather affects pressure. On very cold or very hot days, I need to be extra careful. In winter, I make sure to bundle up well. In summer, I avoid going out during the hottest hours of the day. Family support was fundamental in this journey. My daughter is a nurse and helped me a lot to understand the importance of regular control. My grandkids encourage me to stay active and always ask about my pressure readings. Today, at 78 years old, I can say that controlling pressure has become a habit. It's no longer that constant worry from the beginning. It's small daily care that makes a big difference in my quality of life. And the most rewarding thing is being able to share this experience with other seniors. In the senior group, we always talk about health. When someone discovers they have high blood pressure, I already know the right tips to give. One thing I learned is that every body is different. What works for me might not work for someone else. That's why regular medical monitoring and knowing your own body well is so important. Care for elderly with diabetes. I discovered I had diabetes at 65, and along with my high blood pressure, I needed to double my care. I'll share how I learned to deal with these two conditions. At first, it was scary to monitor everything: glucose, pressure, heart rate. But I created a simple system. Before any physical activity, I measure my pressure and glucose. I use a colorful notebook where I write everything down: green for normal values, yellow for attention, red for alert. My exercise routine changed completely. I started with light walks, always accompanied. Over time, I noticed that my body responded better when I exercised in the morning. If my glucose is below 100, I eat a banana before walking. Eating became an interesting science. I learned to combine foods correctly. For example, if I eat rice, I compensate with more vegetables and a smaller portion. I discovered that eating every 3 hours keeps both glucose and pressure more stable. The body's warning signs became clearer to me. When I feel dizzy or my heart is racing, I know I need to stop and check. Once, during a game of dominoes with friends, I noticed my heart was very slow. It was low glucose affecting my heartbeat. I learned about the importance of diabetic foot care. I make a point of examining my feet every day after bathing. I use a mirror to see the soles of my feet and keep my nails well trimmed. Any little wound I show to the doctor right away. Hydration gained even more importance. When glucose is high, our body loses more water. So, I always keep a water bottle with me. I learned to drink water even without feeling thirsty. It's like watering a plant regularly. Stress control was fundamental. I discovered that both diabetes and pressure worsen when I'm nervous. I started practicing relaxation techniques. My favorite is doing crochet. It calms the mind and keeps hands busy, away from food. Medical consultations became a monthly habit. I bring my notebook with notes, and the doctor always praises my organization. It's gratifying to see how the numbers improve when we follow the guidelines correctly. An important discovery was how sleep affects both glucose and pressure. I created a strict routine: light dinner at 7 p.m., medications at 8 p.m., and in bed by 9:30 p.m. I sleep better and wake up with more controlled levels. My family was fundamental in this adaptation. My wife learned to cook healthier, my children accompany me on walks when they can, and my grandchildren help me with the cell phone app for diabetes control. Support groups made a big difference. At the health center, I participate in a diabetic group. We exchange experiences, recipes, and emotional support. It's comforting to know we're not alone on this journey. I learned the importance of always having an emergency kit with me. I carry glucose gel, my portable blood pressure monitor, and a small card with my medical data and emergency contact numbers. Medication requires discipline. I take insulin at specific times and blood pressure medications at others. At first it was confusing, but I created a system with alarms and organizer boxes that works very well. Over time, I realized that diabetes and high blood pressure can be controlled with dedication and knowledge. Today, at 75 years old, I lead an active and happy life, always attentive to my body's signals. Impacts of hypertension on aging. With my 40 years of experience as a retired teacher and living with hypertension for 20 years, I can share how it affects our aging. My first lesson came when I had a small ischemia. It was a scare that made me understand that high blood pressure silently damages our organs. The doctor explained using a simple analogy. It's like a garden hose with too much pressure. Over time, it damages the walls. In our community, stroke is greatly feared. My father had one, and that changed my perspective on hypertension. I learned that some populations, like ours, have a higher propensity for stroke than heart attack. The kidneys also suffer from high blood pressure. Before I ignored creatinine tests, today I monitor them closely because I understand they're like a thermometer for my kidney health. I had to drastically reduce salt when I noticed changes in the tests. The heart is another affected organ. I noticed I was climbing stairs with more difficulty. The doctor explained that hypertension makes the heart work harder, like an engine always revving. I started supervised exercises and noticed a big improvement. Vision can also be affected. In ophthalmologist consultations, they always measure my pressure. He explains that retinal vessels can be damaged by hypertension. I use eye drops regularly and have frequent checkups. My memory improved after I controlled my pressure. Before, I had frequent forgetfulness. The doctor explained that hypertension can affect small vessels in the brain, impairing memory. Balance is also affected. In Tai Chi classes, I noticed that other hypertensive people had the same difficulties as me. With pressure control and regular exercises, we improved a lot. I learned to recognize signs of high blood pressure, neck pain, dizziness, blurred vision. But the danger is that there aren't always symptoms. That's why I measure pressure regularly and note everything down. I completely changed my diet. I reduced salt, fats, and sugar. I increased consumption of vegetables, legumes, and fruits. The result was surprising. I lost weight and my pressure stabilized. Genetics plays an important role. In my family, everyone has a tendency towards hypertension. That's why I encourage my children to measure their pressure regularly, even when young. Stress is a big villain. Retired, I thought I would be more relaxed, but I needed to learn to deal better with worries. Meditation and Tai Chi helped me a lot. Quality sleep makes a difference. I established a rigorous routine. I lie down and get up at the same time. I avoid screens before sleeping and practice relaxation. Medications are fundamental, but they're not everything. I learned that exercise, proper nutrition, and stress control are equally important. Age brings natural changes in blood vessels, which become less elastic. That's why pressure control needs to be even more rigorous in the elderly. Benefits of green tea and care with coffee. I discovered the power of green tea after my hypertension diagnosis. As someone with Asian heritage, I already had the habit, but I didn't know about the benefits for blood pressure. I started drinking a cup in the morning. The antioxidants in green tea helped reduce my pressure by about 5 points. I also noticed a reduction in cholesterol after 3 months of regular consumption. Coffee was my concern. I used to drink several cups a day. The cardiologist explained that excessive coffee can cause pressure spikes, especially in severe hypertensives like me. We developed a strategy. I kept only 2 cups of coffee in the morning, always after breakfast, never on an empty stomach. In the afternoon, I replaced it with green tea or chamomile. Green tea brought unexpected benefits. It helped with digestion, improved my disposition, and even contributed to weight loss. I learned to prepare it correctly. Water at 176 degrees Fahrenheit, never boiling, to preserve the nutrients. With coffee, I discovered that timing matters. I avoid it after 2 p.m. to not disturb sleep. On medical exam days, I don't drink coffee to avoid altering the results. My wife also embraced green tea. We make a daily ritual. We prepare it together in the morning, a moment we use to talk and plan the day. The doctor explained that green tea has L-theanine, which helps relax without causing drowsiness. Perfect for afternoons when I need to stay alert but calm. The flavonoids in green tea protect blood vessels. I started mixing it with mint from my garden, making the drink even healthier and tastier. Coffee also has its benefits when consumed moderately. It improves concentration and contains antioxidants. The key is balance. I learned to identify when coffee is affecting me. Tremors, anxiety, or palpitations are signs to reduce consumption. At family gatherings, I always offer green tea. It became a tradition and a way to share health with those I love. For those with reflux like me, I discovered that green tea should be consumed between meals, never with food. Preparing green tea became a moment of mindfulness. I observe the leaves opening in the water, smell the aroma, consciously appreciate each sip. Recommendations for a healthy lifestyle. At 80 years old, I learned that a healthy lifestyle starts with the mind. Emotional control is fundamental. Before I lived anxiously, worried about everything. I learned breathing techniques with my Tai Chi group. 3 deep breaths before stressful situations make a difference. I quit smoking at 60 after a scare with my blood pressure. It was difficult, but my pregnant granddaughter was my motivation. I wanted to meet my great-grandchild. Alcohol also left my routine. I kept only a small glass of red wine with Sunday meals, with medical authorization. The morning walk became a ritual. I wake up at 6 a.m., put on my special shoes for diabetics, and do 40 minutes in the park. I met friends who became family. I started swimming at 75. At first, I was embarrassed. Today, I do it 3 times a week, and my arthritis has improved significantly. Tai Chi transformed my physical and mental balance. The gentle movements strengthen the body without impact. The necessary concentration clears the mind. I discovered the importance of regulated sleep. I created a routine. No screens after 8 p.m., chamomile tea, and light reading before bed. I keep my brain active with crosswords and Sudoku. I participate in a book club at the community center. Spirituality is also important. I meditate for 15 minutes in the morning, thank for life, and calmly plan the day. I learn to say no without guilt. I preserve my energy for what really matters. Contact with nature became medicine. I take care of my small garden, talk to the plants, observe the birds. Balanced diet and exercises for the elderly. At 77, I had to relearn how to eat. My nutritionist created a personalized plan considering diabetes and hypertension. Proteins are essential. I include eggs, chicken, and fish daily. I learned that older adults need more protein to maintain muscle mass. I discovered the power of fruits and vegetables. I make a green juice in the morning with kale, apple, and lemon. My pressure improved significantly. Breakfast gained special importance. I eat oatmeal with banana and cinnamon, great for controlling glucose and pressure. To ease digestion, I have smaller meals every 3 hours. Lunch is always at the same time, with half the plate being vegetables. Exercises became a pleasant routine. Water aerobics 3 times a week, excellent for joints. I made friends and improved mobility. Dancing entered my life at 70. I participate in a senior dance group. Besides exercise, it's pure joy. Adapted cycling was a discovery. I use a stationary bike at home on rainy days. I put on music and pedal for 30 minutes. The nutritionist taught simple tricks, replacing salt with herbs, using olive oil in moderation, preferring whole foods. Exercises are adapted to my condition. I always measure pressure and glucose before physical activity. I learned the importance of pre-exercise snacks. A banana or apple 30 minutes before prevents hypoglycemia. Hydration during exercises is fundamental. I discovered that thirst in older adults can be less noticeable. I keep a food diary along with pressure measurements. It helps identify foods that affect my health. Adequate hydration water became my best friend after 70. At first, I avoided drinking too much to prevent nighttime bathroom trips. I learned that thick blood increases stroke risk. The doctor explained using a simple analogy. It's like a river. When there's little water, it forms more silt. I developed a system, a 16 Oz bottle next to the armchair, another on the bedside table. I mark them with colored tapes to control the quantity. During exercises, I drink water every 15 minutes, even without thirst. I discovered that thirst in older adults is less perceptible. At night, I reduce consumption 2 hours before bedtime. I solved the problem of nighttime bathroom visits. On hot days, I add lemon slices and mint to the water. It makes it more attractive and increases consumption. Signs of dehydration. I learned to observe urine color, dry skin, dizziness when standing up. I created schedules for drinking water, upon waking, between meals, before exercises. I avoid during meals to not hinder digestion. Natural juices and teas complement hydration. I avoid sodas that only increase thirst. The app my granddaughter installed on my phone reminds me to drink water. It even emits sounds of running water. Natural changes, treatment risks, prevention and acceptance of aging. At 82, I accept natural changes with serenity. Memory isn't the same. I write everything down in a colorful notebook. I do crosswords daily to keep my mind active. My prostate enlarged, common for men my age. I take natural medication and have regular checkups. I learned not to be ashamed to talk about it. My vision changed a lot. I use different glasses for near and far. I have an eye checkup every 6 months, essential to prevent serious problems. About medications, I learned not to overdo it. Before, I took medicine for any discomfort. Today, I prefer natural measures when possible. Osteoporosis appeared, but I do regular exercises and take vitamin D. My diet is rich in calcium, yogurt, sardines, dark leafy greens. For prevention, I maintain a regulated routine. Wake up early, walk 40 minutes, meditate. The senior group became my second family. A balanced diet makes a difference. I reduced sugars and fats, increased proteins and fibers. I cook with herbs from my garden. The most important thing was accepting aging as a natural phase of life. Each wrinkle tells a story. Each limitation brings a lesson. I cultivate serenity daily. I'm grateful for life, for friends, for family. I discovered that aging is an art. The more we accept it, the lighter we become. To the young, I leave advice. Take care of your health early on. To the elderly, I say, it's never too late to start. Life is a precious gift at any age. This is my story of learning and acceptance. May it inspire others to live better, respecting their time and their body.